So good evening, everyone. My name is Bert Dicht. I am the Vice President for Membership for the National Space Society. And thank you for joining us this evening for what we're calling a virtual forum on the SpacEdge Academy. And our guests this evening are Lynn Zielinski, who is the NSS Vice President for Public Affairs, Francis Delutri, who is the NSS Deputy Education Director, and Kathy Gustafson, who is one of our SpacEdge Academy educators. And they're going to take you through a really exciting program that we have for students. And this is especially relevant today with students being home and educators and parents and students looking for some opportunities to also do at-home learning, but the program is much, much more than that as well. You'll hear all about that this evening. So let me turn it over to Lynn Zielinski to start the program. So Lynn, it's all yours.
Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I know it's a long time to spend, but this is really exciting. SpacEdge Academy and the Centers for Excellence is a program of the National Space Society, which is mostly an archive for teacher lessons, activities, projects, and a place where teachers can take students and work with students on different kinds of lessons and activities. But it's also a place where we can get university folk to network with each other and look at cutting edge, different kinds of places, and entrepreneurial types of space, things that are going on. And so I'd like to just walk you through with a quick PowerPoint, and then we'll give you a demonstration. Francis and Kathy will give you a demonstration of SpacEdge in its various forms. So to start, we have the Academy itself, which is basically partitioned into several sections. We've got the K-12 and the university sections. The K-12 is really more of the academy, and the university section is really more of the Centers for Excellence. Those are the focused areas. We also have areas for what we would like to do with space ambassadors and other chapters and other things like that. The idea here behind the education is that we can work with formal and informal education. We can work with teachers, and we can help them to create lessons. And the lessons that we have in here are done by master teachers, and there's well over 90 of them currently within the system. They're divided into sections of K-5, 6, 8, and 9, 12 in the K sections. And then of course we have some early education as well. The students can go in there and they can collect data, they can share data, they can work with teachers, they can have public access to different kinds of resources. And it's a wonderful place for them to do activities worldwide. We have a couple of lessons, in fact, that are actually done worldwide. The goals for the Academy itself are to share and network, as well as work with the communities, both globally and locally, to provide mentorship in different occupations and also in different disciplines, and to foster STEAM education plus business. Actually, the A in STEAM is actually for fine and liberal arts. So it's not just defined as artsy type things. It's actual liberal arts, English, history, social studies, and that sort of thing, as well as look at business education. So we really want to cover all of the areas. The Academy itself is password protected. So if you go into it, you're going to actually need to log in and sign in. We want to vet people so that we don't have stalkers. Because we allow students in there with teachers, we want it to be protected for everybody to be able to use and not have to worry about anything bad happening to them. And so you can go in as a guest, but we would prefer that you sign up, log in as a person with a password, and then that will allow you to also get emails that tell you new things about what's going on in the academy, as well as what is new lessons that are being performed, or also to add lessons for yourself. So we do vet all the folks that come in. So we want to know a little bit about you. You know, are you a teacher? Are you an informal educator? Are you a chapter member? Who are you? And then we want you to be able to access areas for the public. So guests can go into public areas, but people who are logged in can actually go into all of the areas. So they can't see everything if you go in just as a guest. We have courses, lectures, and activities. We have classes. We're working on videos. They're age and grade level located, and they're aligned with standards, with national standards. The Center for Excellence is the university plus postdoc section of the academy. And its purpose is really to look at cutting edge research that's going on in the new space areas. And we would like companies and universities to work with us, and we have several of them that do. We also provide competitions as well. So it's divided into sections, the Centers for Excellence. The sections at the university level basically are a collection of, I want to say, individual and or universities. I think I kind of said that already. It's open to share to the public. And there are, I said this before, we have contests as well. Features, there are several sections within the Centers for Excellence. The first section is called the Cybrary, which is a cyber library. It is a resource section where the people who are operating the Center for Excellence, that's the material that goes into it. So it has links to libraries, to documents, to all different kinds of topical information associated with that particular cybrary. So for example, if we're looking at something like space solar power and power beaming, there are lots of documents that are associated with that, research papers and those sorts of things. We have an online journal. So many of the cybraries, many of the Centers for Excellence have a journal that is basically vetted. So students that do papers or papers that are submitted, we like to vet them and have the professionals look at them. So it kind of gives them a place to put their stuff. We also have a section called the IDEA, which is an innovative area where we allow students and mentors to kind of share knowledge. And you don't have to necessarily be in a particular subject area field. So an artist can go in there and share their ideas, as well as a scientist or a student. And we also have a question and answer section forum where we actually ask the mentors that operate the particular Center for Excellence to actually answer questions about topics that people are asking in that cutting edge area. Here is a quick chart that kind of shows you some of our Centers for Excellence right now and whom some of our university and cutting edge companies, entrepreneurial companies are. And these are really exciting. Some of them have competitions that have happened in the past. Some of them have not. For example, the additive manufacturing, excuse me, additive manufacturing had a competition to print in space. on the International Space Station, and there are students who actually have done that. We've had some in space solar power as well. And so we're looking at all different kinds of ways to add to these centers. We're also looking for ways and people to add and create new centers for us in cutting edge. So this is totally something that we would all like to have you be a participant in, not only to just do and look at, but also to add to and become actively involved with. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Francis DeLutri, who's going to walk you through the Academy.
Hi there, I'm just trying to switch screens here and get my video going and everything. Thank you for your patience. All right, so I would like to show you about the SpacEdge Academy. And you can find the SpacEdge Academy by using the URL spaceedge.academy, as simple as that. When you go into the SpacEdge Academy, there's a little spot that says login. So you punch on that and you create a new account. And so I'm going to say I'm currently logged under student Francis, but let's say I'm creating Bob J. And then there's there's one thing that's kind of particular about this, and that is the password. And this is where some people get kind of waylaid a bit. And that is that you need one uppercase and one lowercase letter, as well as an alphanumeric character like an exclamation point or something like that, a total of 8 characters. We are interested in your email address for lots of reasons. We have some lessons that actually span the globe. So if we're looking for someone to have an experiment on one side of the globe and on the other, we might reach out to you and see if you're interested. And then if you are, we would connect you if you so desire. We're interested to know where you come from in the country, of course. There's information here on your school. This information is not shared with anyone. We do not sell our lists or anything like that. They're just for the purpose of SpacEdge education. There's a spot here that says title and position. So if you're a student, you would mark that. If you're a teacher, etc. And the particular level that you're interested in, also to put in there, is interesting for us to know. Further, we want to know what your aspirations are. If you're a student, maybe you have some goals of becoming an astronaut or learning more about astrophysics. Maybe as an adult, you want to just know more about a particular subject. So this is information that we would love for you to share with us, and that'll help us keep you in the loop when things come up. We would never share your information with anyone unless you allow us to do that. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to sign in under my student Francis and show you a few things. At the top, we have a ribbon that says Academy by grade level. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the things there. The Centers for Excellence, contests and challenges, and then educator development. So I'll be talking about these items here. I'm going to start off with grades kindergarten to 2. And in there we have some great lessons here. One fun thing, and National Space Society has actually reviewed a lot of books, both children and adult fiction and nonfiction. My grandson loves the Max books. Max Goes to the Space Station, for instance. So there's a nice review there for you as parents or as students yourselves. You're looking for a space book to give somebody, that's a great place to go. There's another lesson on here that I'd like to show you. We call each of these things lessons, and that is water and space. So in most of our lessons, we give some kind of a backstory. What are we trying to talk about in the first place? And that's what we are doing right here. We're talking about learning about the behaviors of water. And again, think of students that are in kindergarten to 2nd grade. And so at this point, just to learn how to observe how to ponder, to do some experimentation is a new game for them. And so we're trying to encourage them to just have fun and learn about their world. There's the water in a penny activity where you put droplets of droplets of water in a penny to see how many droplets it can hold. And so there's prediction that goes into that. This would be something that students of that age are just starting to think about, what if? So that is part of this lesson. And then we can also even introduce something called variables. And we can suggest what would happen if we try a dime versus a penny or a quarter, or what would happen if we used a different type of liquid than water, like milk or fruit juice, something like that. And then we've got videos. We've always got some videos that are fun to see. This one is kind of a fun thing. Show you a few moments of this. So this experiment, you would use a pipette, which you can purchase at the pharmacy, and just tap water. You could even try it with distilled water, etc. And you could try, one of your variables might be, how do you put the water on the penny? But you notice that the water droplets, as they go onto the penny, are somewhat flat. So there's another video here that shows you another perspective. And then there are a couple of videos from space. And I'm going to go to this one here at the bottom. This is our friend Scott Kelly on the ISS. And he's got a droplet. Now this droplet looks very different than it did on the penny. It's not flat as the droplet was as it was adhering to the penny. And Scott is putting dye into that water droplet to see what happens. So at this point, we're starting to talk to the students about geometry, as simple as that sounds. This is going to another level of experimentation for students. I'd like to now go to the 3rd grade to 5th grade level. And we're stepping it up a little bit now. And there is there's the books there if you'd like to go into those. We've gotten flying nanosats. We've also got some earth science here with images from space, which is very cool. And I want to show you, in particular, the Marshmallow Challenge. This was part of a contribution from Janet's Planet. Janet Ivey is a television personality from Nashville, and she has a children's show about space. It's called Janet's Planet.
She's also on the NSS Board of Governors.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. She's on our NSS Board of Governors. And so she has contributed to this repository as well. So on this, we have, first we're talking with 3 to 5-year-olds. They're knowing more about our world. And so they're certainly taking a look at how big things are and how small things are. And so there's a little bit of a backstory about the need people have felt to build bigger and better things and to leave their mark on the world for all eternity to see. And sometimes these things don't last so long. Sometimes they last pretty long. We also talk about comparisons of heights. And we talk about places in the world where these structures are found. So again, that's part of the 3 to 5 level curriculum to start knowing about the world around them. There's an activity in here, and the guidelines to this activity are they will be building a structure with 20 pieces of hard spaghetti, a yard of tape, some string, and a marshmallow will go on top. There's also, in many of these, there are downloads that you can take your instructions with you. And because now they're the 3 to 5 level area, we are doing more with reflections, comparing one structure to another. They might write about what they see. They might actually draw what they see. We're also interested in photos of those towers. And so we have a forum to upload those photographs. And the educational standards that are involved with grades 3 to 5 are actually engineering standards. So that's kind of an interesting thing that students of that age are getting involved in engineering. I'd like to go now to grades 5 through 8. And now we're getting a little bit more involved here. We've got some citizen science projects, which are very, very interesting. And this is where now the middle schooler and pre-middle schooler are able to maybe work with parents or even on their own to gather data for scientists to add to their research data. And it's a very exciting thing to do. Here's our marshmallow challenge down here. And now we've upped this level of expectation, because in this marshmallow challenge, MS, middle school, the students will build a structure. They'll also write their instructions, and then they'll switch with somebody else to see if someone else will take a picture, and they'll switch with somebody else to see if the other folks can follow their instructions. And then they critique each other on how this was done. I'm going to go to the area that talks about up here, activities with students in the classroom. These different lessons can be done part and parcel. Some of these can happen over several days. Some of these you might take and do a portion of them. Some of these can be done in coordination with people in other parts of the globe. So they're very interesting lessons to do here. This 3D printing talks about how to set up what you're doing at home and to get some designs for 3D printing. And in my community, we can actually take those plans to our local library and get them printed, which is kind of nice. I'd like to go down here. There's a satellite, understanding how they work. And this is one of the favorites. This is called Trekasat. And in this lesson, students are actually following satellites in real time electronically. So there's a little backstory here. And what we use is a website called n2yo.com. n2yo.com is really interesting. This is real time. And you will see if we can choose what type of satellites we're interested in. If we say Galileo satellite, let's try that. And we'll track it. And this is what we'll see here. We can move around a little bit. There's the satellite there. Do you see that at the bottom? And as you see this, you'll see my numbers are changing because this is real time. And in this lesson, we have data sheets for you to record the information. Usually I would record it every like 10 minutes with my students. And maybe one group would record it 1 hour, another group another hour, and then they would see what would happen throughout the day, and they would see what the passes would be. Let me go back here. One of the favorites, of course, is the space station. Let's see where the space station is right now. These are all components of the space station where it said track it, track it. Let's see if we can find that space station. There it is, just outside of, sort of over Mexico. And you'll see that the passes of the satellites are not on top of each other, they actually move. And so part of the lesson actually addresses predicting where the next passes would be. Let me try to go back here and back out of here. Let me see. Okay. And in this lesson, we can further take a look at if you see a satellite in the sky, how do you tell where it is? Well, you can actually use your hand extended from your body to figure out how many degrees up in the sky it is, or from north and that sort of thing. We talk about what affects the position of the satellites and where they are on each pass, and even predict where the next pass will be. In other words, what country will it be over? So we've got lots of math that you can use with that, and we have the worksheets for you on that. At this point, I would like to turn this over to Kathy, and she's going to tell you a little bit about the 9 to 12 group.
Okay, all right, let's see. I'm going to share my screen. Yeah, hang on a second. Okay. All right. Being the high school physics teacher that I was for 30 some years, my teaching is a little bit more traditional, and I start with a lot of basic information that people need to know. For example, well, let me first of all show you what under the high school and university ones that are available here. First of all, I have done some using the Sloan Digital Sky Survey, Basic Astronomy, Advanced Astronomy. They're mostly done, most of them are done for there, but I've also done some of the projects, not projects, but the courses for 9 through 12 here. Let me see if I got that in the right place here. I'm missing one other thing here. Projects like grade. Oh, that's right. Okay. Okay. No, I'm looking for one thing, and now why can't I find it? Where are the teacher and student created ones? You guys have that? Francis, help me out here. Where are the teacher and student created ones?
I'm going to look right now. I've got to go back to another screen.
Okay.
Kathy, it looked like if you scroll down a little, I think I saw a heading there, teacher and student created projects.
It's the first blue line. It's a little hard to see.
Right here.
You're right there, you got it.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, you guys will have to forgive me because it's been a while since I've actually created any of these. Most of these I did in 2017, and I've been working on another project with another group for the last several years. But anyways, the ones that I created were like black body radiation, electromagnetic waves, low Earth orbits, and there's spectroscopy, also basic things to astronomy that you really need to know about space. So I wanted to show you the electromagnetic waves, which is a sea of information. First of all, you'll see that there is a list here of what every part of the lesson is, but you can get rid of that if you want, and you can bring it back if you want to look at it, just a little bit of navigational things. But electromagnetic waves, a sea of information. I find that even when you teach high school physics, a lot of times kids really do not know as much about electromagnetic waves as they should. And that's something that is so important in today's society. You really need a good background on it. So I start out with what do they know? There's a little quiz, and they can take that as many times as they want, but once they take it, they know if, hey, maybe I should go through this course to figure out some of this stuff. There's essential concepts of waves that they need to know. And I have them watch several videos, answer some questions in a journal. Now the journal, you can do a couple different ways. You can either have them do it on a Google Sheet if someone wants to look at it, or just on a piece of paper if they want to look at it. Or they can do it in their journal and keep on coming back to their journal. But then there's a little, I'm not quite sure how people are able to look at the journal, someone other than the student themselves. I guess when I was first designing these courses or these lessons, it was for the purpose of someone who wanted to go through this themselves to learn a few more things. And so not really part of any teacher's course or anything like that. So this is really an on your own learning type of thing. I do give some worksheets with solutions to them so that they have some ideas of what's going on, just basic things like wave speed, frequency, period, wavelength, that type of things. Then we get into electromagnetic waves, because the first three was basically just talking about waves, and then talking about electromagnetic waves and basically how are they produced? What are their properties? How are they different from the other waves that we have talked about? You know, so do they need a medium to travel through? What's producing it? How fast does it travel? So then They look at each one of these topics. There is some questions that I actually have and some problems that they do. So it's a little bit more advanced in terms of they need to actually do some work here. Some very good videos. I think that they're pretty good. And then some more questions and journal with solutions. Then once they talk about electromagnetic waves, then we talk about the spectrum and how important the spectrum is. And we go through the spectrum. And if you look on the side here, you can see that this is where we're at, number 5. And talk a little bit about all of what is part of the spectrum and do some reviews, do some questions and problems on it. And then we go to figure out how do astronomers use electromagnetic waves, because obviously they use a lot more than just visible light. And so there is videos, there is an article here that they look at. We look at astronomical images in different wavelengths, questions that they should ask about these. And then I actually have them do a project at the end to kind of test their knowledge to see what they have learned. And they can do it in this journal, or they can do it in whatever format if someone else is looking at it. And then there's always feedback that we like to get about the course that we just had. So that is typically what we do in the high school, is this type of thing where there's videos, there's questions, kind of guide you through some of the basic concepts of knowing what is going on. And like I said, there's black body radiation, there's spectroscopy, there's several of those things. And so these are just lessons, and then the Sloan Digital Sky Survey provides some basic astronomy lessons in the projects. Okay, so I will stop sharing my screen, and then Frances, I think you have it again, right?
I do, but Kathy, before you go away,
yes,
I'm wondering if you can relate to everyone about your very exciting data project, which I hope to eventually see some of that in SpacEdge. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, for the last 3 years, since 2017, since I was working on the Space Academy stuff, I've been involved in, it's called Innovators Developing Astronomical Tools for Accessibility. And so we have been working with the blind and visually impaired community to develop image processing software for people who are blind and visually impaired. And basically it is a whole unit of very accessible ways to learn some of the concepts and to use the astronomical imaging software. And then at the very end, we have them actually go through a module that the module is on SkyNet Junior Scholars, which helps them learn some computer science, and they learned a programming language called Quorum. And the Quorum is an accessible for BBI computer programming language that helps them actually control telescopes around the world on the SkyNet telescope thing, and then also to request their own images from these telescopes, and then to actually analyze them with the computer science software, the image processing software. So it's been very exciting. It's been very, very exciting, and it's kind of wrapping up, and we're got some good software, and we've had a lot of good input, and it would be nice to have accessible lessons put on the Space Academy, and that's something that will be worked on.
And this is all through the National Science Foundation.
Yes, National Science Foundation, yeah.
So we've got, it's really a marvelous project, and I look forward to seeing it on the Academy as soon as we're ready to share that. All right, I am going to, I've got my screen shared here, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Centers for Excellence. Lynn had begun speaking to you about that, and the Centers for Excellence is a pretty exciting area. It really involves students that are in college, even in high school, that are so motivated. They can take a look in here and get lots of information. There's Cybraries in here, which is an electronic repository of journals and videos and that sort of thing, opportunity to speak with folks. And the people that sponsor the Centers for Excellence are space industry corporations. They are universities that have space-oriented departments and are doing cutting-edge sort of things. And it's very, very exciting. So I'm going to take a look at this one here, Nanotechnology in Space Cybrary. And this one is being curated by Dr. Tanya Sienko at Prairie Nanotechnology. And she just takes you through the whole thing about nanotechnology. She starts with little creatures in the water, and then she moves that into nanorobotics. She's talking about, in these different articles, etc., she's talking about how to make materials that are tremendously strong so that they can be used in space application. And this is talking about space elevator and the idea of actually moving from the surface of the Earth up to a satellite or a settlement by using an elevator. And it's kind of cutting edge. It's very exciting, but there's lots of great information in here about that. She goes into solar sails, as well as use of graphene, etc. And so she was just adding things in here this week. And so all of these are dynamic places where things are added for discussion throughout the time. There is another project here that's really interesting, and this is the Plan a Diet to Support Long Duration Spaceflight, LDSF. And this one is curated by Dr. Bill Gardner. This is actually a competition, and the competition ends on the 19th, so you've got 2 more days. And it talks about, they're looking for a diet that will help sustain astronauts. And so they're looking for entries of things that might be used to do that. So it's very interesting even to just peruse this site and see what it takes to come up with a diet. So that's also a very interesting Center for Excellence. I'm going to go over to contests and challenges, and also the LDSF is there as well. And there's another one here called the Leo Art Challenge. Some time ago, I was at a meeting of the Art Institute in Chicago and the University of Chicago. University of Chicago has a very strong astrophysics department. And of course, the Art Institute of Chicago is known for its art and training people to be artists. And in this forum, they were talking about the need for art to convey the ideas and theories of scientists, and to bring these ideas to people across the world, so now we can actually spawn off of one another in moving through a theory and blossoming new theories. And so in this forum, that we saw something and we brought it into the SpacEdge Academy. This is called the Leo Art Challenge, Low Earth Orbit Art Challenge. And this contest involves a student, and we take ages K through 18, makes an art object that is informational. There's information here on the contest itself. And I'm going to move down here to the different types of options. One type is, let's see, I think I missed it. One type is something called a zine. Let's see here. I'm going through, here it is, a zine. And I'll show you, can you see these? These are zines, and they're little magazines. And they started in like the 1840s, and it was a way to get political information.
Well, we're not seeing the zine.
Oh, you're not seeing this? Okay, let me go back. Thank you very much. These are called zines. And these were actually made by students at the Art Institute who, guess what, had to take a science course. And the science course they took was astronomy. And so their astronomy teacher said, I need you to make an art object that's informational, that conveys information about astronomy. And so they picked, this one has to do with Henrietta Leavitt, Here's one on Einstein here. And it's an 8-page little pamphlet where information is in there. Here's one says, nothing to fear, the truth about black holes. And so in our competition here, we're asking for students to come up with some information on Leo, and they can put this into their zine, or they can also make a postcard, and thirdly, they could make a lithograph. So again, that's an opportunity to bring STEAM into our academy. And there are lots of places to go on this. I've seen teachers that love this idea. And so they move this idea into their own classrooms, whatever they were talking about. You could do scientists. You could do, if you're talking about Leo, you could talk about living in Leo. You could talk about the effects in Leo, temperatures, all kinds of things. The history of exploring
it's
Leo,
19 hours.
I'm sorry, Lynn, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, and so for the last several years, I think for the last 3 years since the Puerto Rico ISDC, we've been challenging the space settlement contest students that come to the ISDCs to do and produce zines about the space settlements and about other space ideas. So I just wanted to share that has happened for the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay. Let's see here. We have had design food recipes for Mars is coming up. Here's another one, and that is the SPUN student debates. The last 3 years, we've had student debates at the International Space Development Conference, which NSS hosts every year in late May. This year, there's been something else that's gotten in the way of that, so we've had to cancel ISDC because of the coronavirus, and we've moved to a virtual debate this year. As a matter of fact, tomorrow morning, we're having our practice debates, and we have 9 teams that have been formed from students from around the world. So one team will have students from around the world on that team, and they have to learn to collaborate. They have to overcome time zones and cultural differences and language differences. We're all speaking the common English language, but sometimes the English language doesn't always sound the same. So this has been a really exciting thing to watch these students prepare and mature and learn about each other and forge relationships that reach across the globe. And this is just like in space settlement, where we'll be using people that bring so many different things to the table, and we'll learn to collaborate with them in how to live amicably. This last section is called Educator Development, and we wanted to let you know that SpacEdge Education does all kinds of educator development. This is for, we've done it for teachers, we've done it for non-traditional groups. We've held summer camps. We've done a workshop for an hour. We've done it for a day. We've done it for several days, depending upon the topics that we need. We've been able to present different forums for folks and keep activities going and keep it exciting. And so we wanted to let you know that we offer those things too. I think, Lynn, I'm going to turn it over to you and you can wrap us up.
Right. One of the things I wanted to mention was that with the SPUN debates, they're going to be recorded and they're going to be posted on the SpacEdge Academy as well. And so as these students come through and do the debates and we get our national winners and our international winners, they'll be able to visit the Academy and see what these students have done. So it's pretty great stuff all along the line. At this point, I think we'd like to open it for questions and answers. If there's anybody that would like to maybe find out more or has a specific question about what we're doing.
Lynn, there was one question that came through our chat, and I'll read that to you. How and where does the teacher engage with the student?
We've done several things. We've actually done online courses. Preparing our debaters, we had an online course, and I was the teacher of that. And so there was an opportunity for me to get to know the 76 students from around the world. And that is one way to engage with them. Many of our courses are so that teachers have a resource and they then can use it in their own classrooms and put their own creativity to what they need, or to be able to answer the standards that are required in their own schools. There are opportunities where we have some experiments that do have some mentoring going on in them. So you would have to look at the particular classes, particular lessons.
Very good. We did get a few questions that came in through our registration, so I'd like to just bring those in, and then we can reach out to the audience to see what other questions we have. So there's one question about what's the best way to reach high school and college students?
I think that when that question is a bit vague, and how do you reach them? Well, they kind of have to reach us a little bit too. College and high school students need to first know that we exist, so that they can actually peruse and see what we've got available for them. And it's kind of difficult to decide whether it's just a vague question for me. Francis, I don't know if you've got a better answer.
Yeah, Kathy might want to jump in here too if you want to turn your video on and unmute Kathy. But I think one thing that I notice is we have people that are innately interested in space and space science, and so they gravitate to us. I taught middle school, and so that's where we are trying to encourage students to open their minds and start to embrace the possibilities of learning more about what could be, about the future, etc. So from one standpoint, to just kind of grab the person on the street, that's probably not what we would do, but we would probably look at space clubs and that sort of thing. Kathy, you want to jump in?
Well, it's kind of interesting when you say how to reach high school students. To me, when I was first doing these courses, when we first started talking about this and doing these lessons, I was envisioning bringing a lesson to someone who really who might have been in high school or in high school age, but really didn't have access to science teachers, basically even science teachers, so around the world. So they needed to know things about a topic, and it just was hit and miss with what they were finding on the internet. So I wanted to put things together so if they were looking at electromagnetic waves, for example, that they could have a pretty good idea of what they should know about electromagnetic waves. So it's interesting because how do you bring it to high school teachers? You'll let them know that it's there. If, like right now, it would be great if they had to do a lesson on electromagnetic waves. It's like, well, here's one. They could do it. All of the questions and problems that they have to do, they could just do on the platform that they are learning on right now if they're doing online learning, and the answers are there. The teacher could look at it and say, okay, you did this. This is great. So that would help them out. So I don't know.
We are starting a social media campaign and trying to just let SpacEdge and NSS's education arm be known. And that's been a very important part of this, is to use social media.
Very good. Another question that came in was, are there any costs associated with any of the lesson plans?
No, none.
That's a good one.
There's no cost to purchase them. We do ask that you use them well, And it would be great to get feedback on how you use them or what would make them better, or to post pictures for us. That helps everyone learn and be encouraged and excited to push to new levels. If somebody builds a marshmallow tower so high and with a height given, well, that gives someone else an opportunity to try to make it bigger and better. So that's what we're hoping you do.
Very good. Another question was, how does someone submit a lesson plan to be included in SpacEdge Academy?
So the best way to do that is to sign up and shoot us an email and say that they want to do it. Online with us here at this forum, we also have Bonnie Thurber, who is the SpacEdge Academy manager. And her role is to help everybody that wants to put something into the academy to be able to do it. So she's a great teacher. Everybody that works with Bonnie loves her and loves the fact that she really lets you take the screen and do the work, and she guides you through it so that you learn it really, really well. So basically it's just let us know that you want to do it and we'll make it happen.
Very good. There were a couple questions that came through our chat, so let me try to get to those. And I do want to be aware of everyone's time. It is about 8:24 Eastern time right now, so we are planning to end on time at 8:30 Eastern. So we'll try to get a few more questions in, and then we'll follow up with individuals if we don't get their questions answered. So the question that came in on the chat, there were a couple of them actually. Bonnie actually addressed a couple of the questions, but how does someone become a sponsor?
So we just contact us.
Okay.
It's basically the best way.
That's good. We'll get that information out. How many different modules or classes or lessons are there total K to 12? I don't know if you have that offhand.
There are about 94 is the count at this time, with about 7 more coming in the next week.
Very good.
So we're adding all the time, and they become more and more varied, and they're updated. So, and we'd love to have more. We'd love to have. There's so many clever, innovative, creative teachers out there that have just given so much encouragement to students, and we'd love to add that to the cadre of the other teachers that are in there and their other works, because they're really works of art. And it's a lot of fun to put these together and to think about who might be using these in the far reaches of the earth.
And the other thing about that too is that we'd love the chapters to be able to share. There are some chapters that do some really great outreach activities at local events, and to be able to take those activities and share them with other chapters, and that would be a really great thing for us to be able to do as well.
Very good. I'm going to take 2 more questions here. One, how do the lesson plans align to any educational standards? And that includes anything with the Canadian standards as well.
Francis?
Yeah. We work very closely with next generation science standards in this country. Not all states in the U.S. Adhere to them. And so many states use parts of them, or they make them into what works for their state. In terms of the Canadians, we have some Canadian teachers that are in our cadre of teachers, and they have used their lessons that adhere to the Canadian standards, but we've not mentioned them in there. So I think if we got a request about a particular lesson, we would try to find the Canadian standards that it would in fact adhere to.
Very good. And the last question actually connects to the town hall we did last night for Inside NSS. The question is, how do you plan to use the Inside NSS platform and other similar platforms over the next several months to increase SpacEdge Academy's reach during this pandemic? You might not know the answer to this right now, but it sounds like a great question that I think we should all be working on to make use of Inside NSS.
I think you're absolutely right. Inside NSS has just become available to us, and so there are many things we're just learning about inside NSS and its capabilities. So I think, the world is our oyster on that, and we're very excited to work with the Inside NSS folks to be as meaningful and robust as possible. It'll be a great avenue to use.
And I look forward to working with you on that to see if I can help as well. So, well, I want to thank you all. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Francis. Thank you, Kathy. That was really great, really fascinating. I might want to use some of this as well. I work with the Civil Air Patrol, so I want to be able to share that with them. And also in my day job with IEEE, my role is pre-university STEM education. So I want to make sure we have the SpacEdge Academy on our website as a resource as well. So if that's okay with all of you, I want to share that.
That works for
I
us.
would absolutely love that. Absolutely. We're trying to get the SpacEdge Academy involved as an umbrella archive for lessons in education, as well as an umbrella for funneling in different resources from different organizations like Janet's Planet or other places like that.
Very good. So again, thank you so much. It was really interesting. I do want to thank all of our participants tonight. We know it's a difficult time out there. We're hoping that you and your families are safe and healthy, and wishing you the best as we get through this. And this is just a good example of a great resource that can help us to meet the challenge of all the stay-at-home activities that we require. So thank you all. I want to wish you a good night. And again, thank our guests. And we'll hope you have a great weekend. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.